Sources say San Francisco 49ers star receiver Deebo Samuel has been traded to the Washington Commanders.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Washington Commanders in tonight's video because I'm sure you guys have seen by now they just traded for star wide receiver from the San Francisco 49ers, Mr. Deebo Samuel. Absolutely insane for a 5th-round draft pick, or as we like to call it here, a bag of chips, kind of a stale bag of chips. It's not even a variety Lay's package from 2012 before you head to the beach. Beach is probably wrong. You're probably actually getting ready for your school lunches. But anyways, neither here nor there. Absolute fleece. I live in Florida, so I don't need a fleece. But 1 year remaining on his contract. He's due $21.7 million. This makes a lot of sense from both sides. This is a former 2nd-round draft pick. He spent his first 6 years with the San Francisco 49ers. 29, just turned 29 a month and a half ago as well, if you were wondering. He will start the 2025 season at the same age, but he requested a trade at the end of this past NFL regular season. And yesterday, actually, we saw Jordan Schultz reported that the Commanders and the Houston Texans were significantly interested in Deebo. And I just can't believe this happened. So once again, it's March 1st. So this trade can't technically go through until March 10th when free agency officially begins. But this is, I don't even want to bring up like past instances where this doesn't go through. This isn't Mark Williams failing a physical. This trade will go through. Anyways, Deebo's been a beast, all right, but he has slipped a little bit. This past year as a wide receiver, 51 catches for 670 yards and 3 touchdowns. But, keep in mind, San Francisco had a horrible season, and they dealt with a multitude of different injuries. And there's also a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and CMC, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo, obviously, Juwan Jennings. Like, there's a lot of talent over there, and it just is one of those trades that makes perfect sense from both sides. Now, all the way back in 2021, which feels like an eternity ago, but it really wasn't, Deebo had an insane season where he made an All-Pro, 1,770 all-purpose yards and 14 total touchdowns. And then this past year, if you're wondering about all scrimmage, he had 86 yards from scrimmage on 93 touches during 15 starts this past season. And he also had 4 total touchdowns. So this is beautiful. But folks, before we get into it, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. I haven't made a Commanders video, I don't think, since your loss to Philly. Sorry to even bring it up. But hit that like button, hit that sub button if you guys haven't already. We post plenty of Commanders content on this channel. This is so awesome because you look at Washington statistics from this past year. Obviously, 32-point loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, and Jaden almost threw the ball 50 times. Now, I totally understand it. Like, when we put some context into that football game, Washington needed to score points. But whether it's week 2 against the Lions, week 8, the divisional round, the conference championship, whatever, you don't want your quarterback ever to have to throw the ball 50 total times. And what Washington obviously was able to do, just going 12-5, making the playoffs with a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels, it's pretty clear what needed to be done. Now, obviously, they have, I'm using air quotes here, roster holes in the sense of like they've got 28 internal free agents hitting the market here. But the point just stands. They weren't supposed to be 12-5. They weren't supposed to make the playoffs. They certainly weren't supposed to win a couple of playoff games. And when you watched it, as good as some of this depth was, like Noah Brown, Diami Brown, they had some really good talent in that receiving room. Zacchaeus, Zach Ertz, throwback season. Scary Terry led the Commanders with about 1,100 total receiving yards. Number 2 was the tight end and Zach Ertz. And then number 3 was Zacchaeus at 506. Noah Brown had 453. Diami Brown had 308. Luke McCaffrey, the rookie, only had 168. The point just is, and a couple of those guys are free agents, but I wouldn't sweat it. They obviously needed a little bit more juice. But what they were able to get with that specific group was insane. And what Jaden Daniels looked like was also insane. So, obviously, this move makes a bunch of sense. It's one thing to talk about it all in February, like, oh my God, could you imagine if the Commanders trade for Deebo Samuel? Could you imagine if they picked this guy up? Well, it just technically, or I guess it didn't technically happen. It's technically about to happen here. So when you look at the Washington Commanders in general, one thing I just wanted to pinpoint here, because I know Jaden as a rookie isn't supposed to come into the NFL and throw over 350 yards per game, nor is he supposed to. 3,568 yards, 25 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions for the rookie QB. He also was the leading rusher. I know Brian Robinson Jr. missed a missed a couple of games here and there, but Jaden Daniels leading rusher, 891 rushing yards, 6 rushing touchdowns as well. The dude's obviously a phenom. But when you look into the statistics here, Washington was the 5th scoring team, 28.5 points per game. They were the 3rd best rushing team. They were the 6th best touchdown scoring team. They were 10th in yards per play. But when you look into the passing yards per game at 215, once again, using the context of Jaden Daniels and he's so good with his feet, the point is Deebo Samuel just takes this team truly to the next level. Now, just because we have a couple of minutes here to spare, when you zoom out on this Commanders offseason here, they've got 7 draft selections, all right? They had a pretty decent amount of cap space. They had like a little under $70 million. So obviously Deebo a little bit over 20 is going to cut that a little bit. So it saves you Washington's not going to make a big time free agent acquisition at the wide receiver position, but they still have plenty cap space to re-sign the players they want to re-sign and also sign the guys they want to sign. But even looking more forward to the draft, they have 7 total draft picks. But the best part about that is they have 3 in the top 80. All right. So hopefully you're grabbing 3 starters, 3 day one starters right there. Pick, was it 28? I think it's 29 actually. My most perfect favorite pick for this Commander team at that number, and it's late first. And just to keep it a buck with you, I don't really know if Benjamin Morrison's going to be available at that pick, but if they're able to get a guy, honestly, any starting caliber cornerback in the NFL this upcoming draft in the first round, that would just be the cherry on top to what probably is going to be a cool free agency period as well. But Benjamin Morrison, the cornerback out of Notre Dame, was an absolute beast. Over 499 coverage snaps across the past 2 seasons. He was targeted 87 times, allowing just 39 catches. He also had 4 picks and forced 17 incompletions. So, folks, that's it for tonight. Deebo Samuel, welcome to the Washington Commanders. Commander fans, I hope you guys are absolutely amped. I want to hear from you guys down below. So that's it from me. Hit that like button, hit that sub button if you haven't already. But folks, give me a grade on the Deebo Samuel trade down below, and let's see that hype. That's it for me. Peace.